Hi everyone, my name is Neerja Bhandari and thank you for joining us today. We'll be talking about immigration fraud. Immigration fraud, if we start with, what is immigration fraud? Immigration fraud is when you're telling lies to immigration while you have an application in process. It could be a temporary file or a permanent residence file. So telling a lie could be by not telling the full truth about your situation, circumstances, address, or the background, or submitting fraudulent documents which actually do not belong to you, or you just created them for the application but are not authentic. So you are trying to authenticate something which is not truth, is fraud. So if immigration finds out that you've committed a fraud, as we call in our profession, you're cooked. Your application is cooked. So that means now if you have not been able to prove that you did not commit a fraud, you are under misrepresentation, and under misrepresentation you have a 5-year bar. I have never seen, if you've done misrepresentation, that your application is approved after 5 years. Visa officers always find a reason to not let you in because you lost total credibility when you committed a fraud. So be careful when you're doing such things and think twice. It not only hampers your application to Canada, for that matter, after that, if you do any application for any other country, you always have to answer the questions, have you ever had a visa refused for any other country? And you again are not going to lie. So you will say yes, and when you say yes, you will have to tell the reasons of why your application was refused. And when you tell why it was refused, you're again telling them that you're not a credible person. So stay away from collecting documents that will create any kind of issue. At least it scares me when a client says that, oh, they can create that document, and it's something I will let them know that don't do it. Let's do the file with all the documents that are authentic and all the documents that you have, and find pathways that will bring you to Canada in a secure and proper way. Because truth once told is always a truth. Whereas if you tell a lie and you create a fraud, you will always have to cover your footprints. So be careful about that. It sounds like a sermon, but that's actually what works in Canada. Immigration is very generous with murders and other inadmissibilities. They're fine with if you have other criminal inadmissibilities. Over the years, they have a program which is called rehabilitation. So you could be considered rehabilitated if you have other misdemeanors and inadmissibilities, criminal inadmissibilities. But telling lie and creating fraudulent documents, that's not something one looks over when a visa officer is making a decision on your file. So telling the facts and not telling the facts intentionally or unintentionally are all wrong. But then there are thin line between you intentionally forgot something, intentionally led the officer and the decision maker to decide in a different way, or was it unintentional? And does your intentional or unintentional facts, or we'll say maybe you, even by not telling something, it could be that you are misleading the officer. So whether the facts that you did not talk about, were they intentional or unintentional? If they were unintentional, they can be explained how it happened, and then you have to make the officer believe that what you did was unintentional. And as far it is not affecting your decision making, if that was something minor, something which will not create the officer to think that this was done for getting the positive results, it can be overlooked because it is human error. It can be taken care of any time, and officers do understand that things can be said or unsaid. So to give a small example, if you have been asked, have you ever done a visa application before, and did you get refused? So you say no. But the visa officer later finds out that you had been refused for a US visa. You will get a procedural fairness letter because the records of US and Canada are shared, and they did find that you were refused in a certain year for certain visa, and that will be brought forward to you to explain. Now there are two things, whether you did it intentionally or you did it unintentionally. So let me tell you, there's a very interesting way that the application has been put forward. It says, have you ever been refused for any any visa or application for Canada or any other countries? We have dealt with applications where the client did not realize that they were being asked for any other countries. They thought they were just doing it for Canada. So every question is only pertinent to Canadian application and information about Canada. But if that application was hidden, if you're doing a study visa and you had a study visa refused in America and you didn't tell about it, I don't think the visa officer will take it seriously that you try to hide it, because you didn't want your study visa to Canada fail, because now you will have to explain why your other visa was refused. So here comes, if you got proper advice before. Proper advice will tell you, proper consultation with an authorized representative will tell you that talking about your previous refusals is not such a bad idea, because things can have gone wrong in the last application. Maybe the documents were not satisfactory, maybe the information provided was not enough. So there's no harm in telling that they were previous refusals. If you're hiding them just thinking that it will look bad, it's actually going to make the whole application bad. It's going to be cooked, as I said. So when you're talking about fraud, it is very important to understand the most important aspect of these applications is representation. Are you doing your own application? It's fantastic. Do it yourself. But if you're taking any kind of help, then you must say yes to that question in it, that have you taken any help. Then there is a use of representative form that needs to be filled, whether it was unpaid from a friend, a relative, somebody who is helping you because they know how they've done the application before. So mention that yes, they have helped you without taking any money. But if somebody had taken money from you, they've taken a compensation for helping you on the application, it has to be a lawyer, an immigration consultant, or notaries of Quebec, as they are mentioned there. There's a whole form, and they tell you who's authorized to represent you. Stay away from unauthorized representatives and agents, because there are a lot of people who are not licensed, who are not trained, who are not regulated to do this job, and are doing it for money, and they do not have the authority to do it. One, they should not be doing it because they do not have the latest updated information. They are not going to take the responsibility if something goes wrong, and they are not being held responsible later by the licensed regulatory board. For lawyers and immigration consultants, we have regulatory boards and councils which we have to be answerable to if we are not doing something in the correct format. So it's for consumer protection, and that's what you should look into. Whenever you hire someone, you should make sure that they are licensed and regulated. You can always check their background, and all the websites that lawyers have a website where you can go and check them. Immigration consultants are regulated by IRCC, and you can always go on the website and check whether the authorized representative that you're having is regulated or not, because later you will be in a bigger soup if it is not a regulated immigration consultant or a lawyer who's representing you, and now those people are not going to take responsibility if something goes wrong. So that is another kind of fraud that's going around, when agents and unauthorized representatives are there in the market and will do it for a price without taking the responsibility of your application. Beware of that. We see it all around that people ask, I get 100 calls a day. Okay, that would be an exaggeration. I get so many calls a day, multiple calls a day, emails when people say they want to come to Canada for work, and I should give them job offers and reference letters and work in Canada. Beware of that, because I actually see a lot of my friends and clients will actually forward me an email in which they'll be asking, I have been offered this job in Canada, can you check whether it is genuine or not? And believe me, there's so many kind of things that are being created on internet and those jobs being offered, whereas the job has to be, if you go on those websites, you will see those are not genuine jobs. And job offer, how do you get a job offer when you have never met an employer? You've never been interviewed by an employer. You have not seen the company. If you've gone on the website, if you see if they're available, if there's anybody available in the company, do your own research. Make an informed decision. That's what I always say. Make an informed decision. Don't just show your hunger to come to Canada so much that somebody can take advantage of it. Because work permits are not given so freely and so openly. I've also seen some of the documents which show that it's a Canadian visa that they have and a work permit. But just to let you know, work permit will not be in your hand till you land in Canada at the port of entry and the CBSA officer has actually interviewed you, and then they will produce a document for you, print a document for you with the work permit number on it, with your name, your passport information, your date of birth, your gender, and the validity of that work permit. That will be printed at the airport when you land in Canada. So nobody can give you a work permit while you're in your home country. And if they show you a job letter without interviewing by an employer, believe me, 99.9% that is not happening. Until unless the employer didn't need to interview you and they have seen your resumes, they've checked your reference letters on emails, but there has been some kind of correspondence between you and your employer. Maybe there's an agent in between, but there has to be some kind of validity. Even in the natural process of finding a job in your own country, you know how job finding is. So don't let your wisdom be clouded by coming to Canada and fall in the hand of fraudulent people who are offering you job for X amount of big money, and which you're paying out of your pocket, selling properties, selling land, giving up your investments and savings. Be careful about that. And I always tell my clients that don't show your hunger so much that somebody who's waiting to grab you will pawn on your greed to come to Canada or your need to come to Canada. Everybody should have an equal opportunity to have a good life in Canada or any country, improve their living standards and have a better life. But don't let anybody use it as making money for themselves and leaving you still wondering what happened to you. So be aware and make informed decisions whenever you're making a decision for coming to Canada. So if you have a fraudulent document, at that time the officer is not going to punish the agent. Maybe if they've got information that agent or that unauthorized representative has been doing this commonly, they can only at this time be caught in their own country until unless they're in Canada. Even CBSA officers can do something, but right now nobody else can do anything until unless they are reported to CBSA. They also cannot take action on it, but you personally will be held responsible for traveling on a fraudulent document. So like I said, make informed decision and don't let things get so clouded for you that you don't see reason. When things look too easy, it's always wrong. My father always says, when you want to decide what is right and wrong, the difficult path always is the right path. When it is too easy, there's something very wrong in it. So be informed and make sure you have studied things properly, because ultimately you yourself will pay for it, not somebody else. You'll be monetarily paying for it, and if it is a fraudulent document, you'll be paying for being banned from Canada for the next 5 years. And after that, if you come to Canada, good luck. Thank you for watching us today again, and hope we keep connected with you on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter.